Here on Indie Style, we'll feature successful entrepreneurs from across the globe who are making incredible strides in their industry. You may not know their names yet, but you soon will. I'm Leah DeVon, and this is Indie Style. Hello and welcome to Indie Style. I am your host, Leah DeVon. Well, we had a wonderful show planned for you today. Today, you're going to meet David Mitchell. David Mitchell has been in the music industry for over 30 years. Let me tell you a little bit about David. He got his start as a product manager and buyer for numerous stores. Do you guys remember the Warehouse music chain? That's where he got his start. He joined the staff. And in 1993, he started working for the Urban Network magazine, worked his way up, and he became the vice president and the managing editor. David was instrumental in the Urban Network Conference, which attracts more than 2,000 registrants in places like Los Angeles, Orange County, and San Diego, California. 2009, he launched his online publication. It's called the Music Industry Quarterly. He features some really wonderful industry executives, such as Reid, Lamar, Kendrick, Erykah Badu, just to name a few. So I'm excited to kind of hear what's going on in his world, all the wonderful things that he is doing. So welcome to the show, David Mitchell.
Hey, Leah.
Hey, David Mitchell.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. Like, your bio is like, what have you not done?
Well, there's a lot I haven't done, but there's a few things I have done, but, I've just noticed working, there are many different facets of the industry. I worked music retail, worked for a music trade magazine. I launched my own trade magazine. I've done music conferences and events, produced numerous of those, co-produced them. I've done media coaching, a lot of interviews with artists and executives. So, but there are a lot of things, there are a lot of sides of the music business that people can get in and, make a living at.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting because David and I go way back. David is just very well known in the industry. He's a very hard worker. He's like one of those people who you're just a giver and you really want to help people succeed in the industry. So let's do this. Let's talk a little bit about, tell me again, some of the roles you've had. Let's just kind of run through those one more time.
Well, I got my start actually in the mid 80s. I wanted to be an artist and I thought was going to be a lot easier than I thought. I grew up taking piano lessons and trying to sing and write songs and, along the lines of like a Stevie Wonder or a Lionel Richie. And, that didn't quite work for me. Those artists were very unique at that time. And let's say around the turn of the 80s and the early 90s, we got New Jack Swing. We started to see the emergence of rap. So those types of singer-songwriters, it was very difficult to try to replicate that kind of success moving forward. But I realized once I was about, 8 or 9 years in, I was like, man, just continue to work behind the scenes. Whether it's managing artists or covering artists at our conferences or interviewing them, working in a record store. I've met zillions of artists, executives. I guess I could kind of say I was an influencer before we started using that term, so I go back quite a ways. So, it's an interesting journey so far.
And I will tell our viewing audience, the Urban Network Conference that David was an integral part of, I met you there many, many years ago when I was doing my music. And when I tell you, Mary J. Blige performed, I remember sitting there just going, you guys brought in some really, heavy hitters and had panels and just really gave a lot of up and coming independent artists as well as established artists, all these panels to meet all of these people. I thought that was such a really just insightful and just a really smart way to really help artists, kind of figure out their footing in the industry. So kudos to you for that, because it was always just so star-studded, but everybody was really nice, wanting to help and,
Mm.
you know.
Well, the last conference that I did was in 2018. And, we're regrouping right now because we're bringing back the Urban Network Conference. It's going to be more along the lines of an R&B summit. So we're looking to do that in the fall of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we'll be doing a lot of great panels, a lot of information, performances, and there'll be a chance for people to come and network. And it's going to be here in Los Angeles. We'll be giving out the date soon. So, you can definitely check on our site at Music Industry Quarterly, and we'll have the information for your viewers to get all the details on the conference.
Wonderful. So, have you had like any mentors along the way? Because I know that you were working at Urban Network magazine. So, like, did you have any mentors along the way?
Well, that was the place I was at the longest. I think I probably put in about 16 years at Urban Network, and which was funny because when I went there, I got laid off from the warehouse, and I figured I'd be at Urban Network, well, maybe 5 or 6 months till something else opened up. I didn't realize
Mm-hmm.
I'd be there, for 16 years, but it was
For a
very
career.
rewarding. And what's interesting, Moore London, who was the president of Urban Network at that time, and he was a music industry vet. He worked at Motown under Barry Gordy for many years. He certainly was one of my mentors. Violet Brown, who oversaw me at the Warehouse Records. She's like a legend. And, it's funny, she was even featured in that Wu-Tang documentary. Violet was just a very integral part to what I was doing. And then there's just lots of other people, whether it's people that didn't even know that they were my mentors, whether it's a Big John Platt, who's probably the most powerful or most influential African-American music executive currently out there right now. I mean, who's gave me my first ad when I launched my own magazine and,
Mm-hmm.
Just looked out for me along the way. People like Sylvia Rhone, who's the chairman over at Epic Records.
He's a
And it's
big
just been a
wig.
number of people, along the way that I've met, whether I interviewed them or they sponsored me or gave me ads, gave me business. It's a small community, and I've been very fortunate to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm. That is wonderful. Okay, so let's talk about your magazine, the Music Industry Quarterly. How did that come
Mhm.
into fruition?
Well, back in 2009, Urban Network basically went out of business, and I wanted to start my own thing. I mean, I was the managing editor and vice president at Urban Network, and I had all these skill sets. I was essentially putting together the magazine, producing it. I knew how to, go out and get advertising. I knew writing. I knew editing. I knew how to run the staff. So I initially started it off calling it amalgamation, like a blend of many different things.
Mm-hmm.
But that was such a complicated word. People would twist their mouths up trying to pronounce it. And,
Right.
it was an interesting experiment. So a couple of years in, I said, no, let's call this MIQ, or Music Industry Quarterly. And, we just continued to run with it. And now we put out 3 or 4 issues a year. The labels, the publishing companies, a lot of independent artists, they like the information because we take this information and we give it to the industry tastemakers, because they're so inundated with so many artists and producers and songwriters. So we kind of streamline that information for them, but they also sponsor what goes in the magazine as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a beautiful magazine. I remember when
Thank
I
you.
first saw it floating through social media, I was like, that's so David Mitchell. The covers are just, they're so beautiful. And the artists that you feature are just so incredible and are absolutely making, a splash in the industry. So, I mean, congratulations on your magazine. It's,
Thank you.
that's, I can tell it's like your labor of love and something that you put a lot into. And the fact that you have that background to find those advertisers or those sponsors, I think, for somebody trying to do that, that's probably the hardest thing to do.
Well, the interesting thing is we're probably the only minority based or owned music trade magazine in the industry that still prints. I mean, you've got things that are online, but, there's still a lot that goes into the actual printing of a book and delivering it through the mail and getting it on people's desk. And unlike something that you see online, you look at it, you skim through it, and, you just move on. These magazines sit on people's desk. They're in offices, they're in studios, they're at the Soho House. They're just a number of places where people can look at them and flip through them and, oh, I know so and so, or how do I get in here, or that's my girl. Oh, I didn't know she's running such and such records now. So we get a lot of that, and the magazine. A lot of people don't print anymore, but it's more enduring.
Well, I think it's beautiful, and it's so cool when you walk into, whether it's a music store or a specific, coffee house, a bookstore, and you still see those magazines printed.
Mm-hmm.
I gravitate to those just because they're so beautiful, they're colorful, and it just kind of brings you back to where things kind of used to be when they were a little simpler. Yeah. Just, it's nice to see.
Well, that's really interesting because sometimes I see younger people, they look at it and they like hold it up like, what does it do? And it really is kind of funny to me because, we grew up on magazines, but you have a whole generation now. If they're not on their phone, they don't know that exist. And that's why we also make sure that the issues are online. Pretty much everything that's in the printed magazine is also on the website, or we'll take different articles and put them on our social media sites, and make sure that people are tagged and so forth. So we definitely do both.
Okay, tell me about like a memorable guest that you had appear on your publication. I'm sure there's many. Tell me like one or two.
Between Urban Network and MIQ, I've probably interviewed hundreds of people.
Tell us one we all know.
Me personally, now I'm showing my age here, but I think my favorite interview was probably about 21 years ago, and it was with Stevie Wonder. He's my absolute favorite artist.
Just Stevie, just Stevie Wonder. I was like, where's he going with this? Wait a second. Stop.
Well, it was a 35th anniversary, I believe, of KJLH, the radio station that he owns here in Los Angeles / Inglewood, and I was just on call because I didn't know when the interview was going to take place. And then I got a call on a Saturday evening. Can you do the interview with Stevie now? And I'm like, sure. I already knew where the studio was. And, I figured they'd give me like 15 minutes and I probably was going to have to wait 2 hours for him. And that just was not the case. I waited 15 minutes and they gave me an hour and 40 minutes, just me and him alone in the studio, just talking. And to this day, I think it's still one of the greatest experiences that I've ever had. And I had to try to get everything into a 2-page article, but it's just an amazing experience.
Well, that's exciting. And like I said, I've seen pictures with you and Janet Jackson, Luther Vandross, Whitney Houston. You have you're being modest. Like, you've been around a lot of people who really have influenced so many music lovers in the industry. And so it's so wonderful that you were able to kind of take your passion and continue. Yeah.
Well, what was different about those times too, when I think of some of the artists that you just mentioned, a lot of those were the 90s, the 80s, the early 2000s. The business had a lot more gatekeepers and it was a lot more elite, so you had to be in the clique or a part of the community, to get to those individuals. To be able to take pictures with a Janet Jackson, who wasn't that accessible then. I think she's certainly more accessible now. Mm-hmm. We live in a different period now. So, everybody's got a phone now. Everybody's, writing something or saying something or videotaping something. Right. So it's a little bit harder to cut through all the clutter. But the great thing that I have is I've got my reputation. I've got years of doing this and years of professionalism. So people will kind of give me the benefit of the doubt and know that I will care or handle their artists or their interviews with a lot of care. One thing about Music Industry Quarterly, we're not a salacious publication. We're not talking about who's sleeping with who and who's got beef with who and who's crazy. And, there's enough out there of that. I like to cover artists from their creative and professional, perspectives.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, if I want you to give like 1 or 2 tips of success for somebody who's trying to get into your industry. They're trying to do a publication. Like, what are some tips for success you would tell them?
Well, print. You see my face was kind of scrunching up when I said print is, there's some people who think that it's dead, and for the most part it is. But because I've been doing it so long, I mean, I can still get away with doing it. It's still an expensive endeavor, having a graphic designer, having writers, having to print it, having to mail it. So those are all additional expenses that you don't have to normally do when going directly online. But I think you still have to have good writers. You have to have quality questions when you interview artists. I think you have to have a mission statement too. What is it that you're trying to do? What is it that you're trying to be? Who is it that you're trying to be when you're doing all of this? And I think you really have to plan, and don't just jump in and do it. You really have to plan and have a strategy on what you're trying to do.
Yeah. Well, I am so, it's always so exciting for me when I get to meet people who I know, and I've known David for a very long time. And I just want to share quickly with everybody, many years ago, I was an independent recording artist and just really on the grind. And I met David Mitchell at the Urban Network Conference, and we became friends. And for a while, he managed my music career. And when you look on my bio and you see all of the wonderful things I've done, opening up, back in the day for the Backstreet Boys, Destiny's Child, recording a duet with the legendary, God rest his soul, Kashif, that was all because of you. So I am so grateful.
Some of that I almost forgot.
I am so grateful to you for that. You're a hard worker, you're a kind person. And in this industry, don't get me wrong, it's a hard industry, but you're like one of the really good guys. So,
Thank you. But what I learned so much from that period too, and a lot of what you were doing is a precursor to where we are and what everybody is doing now. Back then everyone was trying, I'm not going to say everyone, but a lot of people were trying to set themselves up to be discovered by the major labels. And now you have a whole generation of artists that don't even look to go to major labels anymore. There's some out there that do, but we have so many platforms now that you didn't have back then. Imagine Instagram or TikTok or Triller. Just so many, all these streaming services that you have to get your music out there. Mm-hmm. It's a lot more. The only thing you have to figure out is how to cut through the clutter, and it's harder to make money just doing music today. Mm-hmm. But even yourself, you're diversifying, whether you're doing your TV program or you're an influencer or you've got your charity stuff. There's so many things out there that you can do and use music to help, elevate some of that stuff. So,
right. Well, you are the epitome of what my show is about, successful, independent entrepreneurs who are really thriving in their industry. And I think that's just motivational for people to know if you have a passion to do something, go ahead and, as you said, have a good plan, but move forward with what you want to do. It's very empowering. So it's so exciting. And I'm so glad that I finally got to interview you.
It's still relationship based. It's very relationship based. I know people think, well, today I can just get online and I've got 5,000, Facebook friends, and I've got, hundreds of thousands Instagram followers, but do you know them? And it's still important that you can still be able to go out and shake hands and kiss babies and, form relationships. And I think that's something that's kind of missing today,
Yeah. Wow.
Because you never know where the business is going to be 10, 15 years from now. And at least you can say, I still know you from back then. We did this together. We're moving forward with that, So relationships are still very, very important.
Yeah, I agree. And so I'm glad that we continue to stay connected, and I'm thrilled for your publication, everything you're doing and everything you will continue to do. So thank you for, like I said.
Absolutely. And thank you for this opportunity.
100%. Are you kidding me? Yeah. I think you are amazing. So let's do this. Tell everybody where we can find you online.
Yes, at musicindustryquarterly.com, or MIQ magazine, either one, you can Google us too. We're all over the place. So
go back and see those publications. They are beautiful. They are insightful, super easy to navigate. You have a great team, working with you. So I can't wait for your next publication. So usually,
yes, absolutely. Yeah. And just to be, we will have our first quarterly will be in June to celebrate Black Music Month. And then that's a music industry quarterly. And then, like I said, we are going to be producing an Urban Network R&B Summit for September. So just be on the lookout. Check our website for more details.
Awesome. So we usually, we end our show with an indie spotlight artist of the week, but you know what? I'm gonna let you introduce this video for us and this artist.
Oh, okay. Well, one of my favorite artists, and I've done a number of things on him over the last few years, and he's even performed at one of our conferences. His name, he goes by Everywhere, and it's abbreviated EVRY and WHR. He's an R&B singer-songwriter. He's got a new single out right now called Sensual. I don't want to put in the comparisons, but I will give you the superlatives. I think he's amazing, brilliant, melodic. It's got a lot of great stuff to say, and it's where a lot of music should be going, I think, today.
You have enjoyed our interview today with the wonderful David Mitchell, and be sure to check out MIQ Quarterly. I know it's going to continue to thrive and bring wonderful information through this publication. And I hope that you guys also enjoy our Indie Spotlight Artist of the Week everywhere. And until next time, I am Leah DeVon. Be well.
We're out here in Malibu at the Cocoon. My name is Everywhere. Ari O'Neal. This is peace. You got me feeling away, and I can't help. Every moment with you vacation, I'm in heaven. Before you yoga, let me cuddle up with you. Put your legs in the air and bake in the sunrise. You want me kiss these lips on your collarbone. I'm stroking your soul while you slow wine. You got me feeling sensual, sensual, sensual. The touch on your skin is sensual, sensual, sensual. You got me feeling sensual, sensual, sensual. Making love in the sunshine. It's a windy day, but you remind me to breathe. This moment is precious. Why-ya, why-ya, why-ya. Ain't no better way to awake than inside your head. I cut it up now, let me cuddle up with you. Wrap your legs around my waist and keep in the sunrise. Yeah. You want me put these lips on your collarbone. I'm stroking your soul while you slow wine. Yeah. And you got me feeling sensual, sensual, sensual. Touch on your skin is sensual, sensual, sensual. That's that wind through your hair is sensual, sensual, sensual. Making love in the sunshine. You got me feeling like, yes, God. Sometimes you gotta take a moment to yourself and then give a moment. This is love and it feels right. 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 This is love and it feels. This is love and it feels right. This is love and it feels right. This is love and it feels right. You're still looking good in this wind, right? This is love and it feels right. This is love and it feels. Everybody, Ari O'Neal. Let's go. love and it feels right. This is 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 love and it feels. This is love and it feels right. Stream this song cause it feels right. Get this song cause it feels right. This is love and it feels right. This is love and it feels right. This is love and it feels.